Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. And I'm so glad to have you with me for another video about some spooky stuff. I used to be a writer for a really big YouTube channel and Slender Man was an often requested topic, and of course me being the spooky person, I'm like, here I am. Yeah, I can do it. So I figured it's time to do something for my own channel. What a concept, right? So here's my disclaimer. Slender Man is freaky. Slender Man is likely to give you nightmares. So don't say I didn't warn you. But before we get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. And if you enjoyed this video and you want more spooky stuff, be sure to check out the rest of the videos on my channel. And also don't forget to click on that notification bell. It will let you know as soon as I upload my next video. You can also find me on social media at The Spooky Stuff. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, The Spooky Stuff. And I have more spooky stories, legends, and ghost hunting adventures at thespookystuff.com. All right, let's get started. When it comes to urban legends, Slender Man is still pretty young. I mean, it's a baby, pretty much. Now, if you play Minecraft, you might be familiar with the Enderman characters. Enderman. I don't play Minecraft. Please don't roast me. These Enderman characters are tall, blocky characters, and people assume automatically that Slender Man was their inspiration. And even though Slender Man is fictional, the stories about him are so realistic and the photos of him are so realistic that there are people out there who believe that he's a god. Slender Man has even become one of the most popular Halloween costumes. And then of course Slender Man has also inspired documentaries and movies. In 2016 there was a movie called Beware the Slender Man, and then in 2018 an actual Slender Man movie came out. And throughout this time Slender Man has truly garnered this cult following. Slender Man is more than just some movies and pictures. In order to fully understand the Slender Man legend and lore, we have to know the history behind it all and where it all started. So in 2009 the online forum Something Awful had this contest, and the rules were for the contest that people had to create a photo that looked paranormal. So this guy named Eric Knudsen, Victor Surge Online, he basically created Slender Man and put Slender Man in pictures with children, and it looked really realistic. It was so well received, and people online were actually saying on the forum, they're like, oh, maybe we should start making more of these and putting them out there like they're real, just to see how far it goes. Well, it went pretty far. From there, an online legend was born. So yes, Slender Man was a creation that came from a photo contest that was issued by the online forum Something Awful. Crazy, right? You never know, you plant that little seed and then it grows. You're probably curious about the creator. Well, at least I was, so I'm gonna tell you about him anyway. Eric Knudsen is actually a pretty normal guy. He lives with his wife in Florida, he's a family man, and he really found a lot of inspiration from Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft when he was creating Slender Man. And I can totally see the Lovecraft vibe with Slender Man, by the way. So Slender Man's tall, thin, and faceless look actually came from The Mist by Stephen King. You know, Slender Man has tentacles that comes out of his back, he's been known to stalk the woods at night, and he can cause amnesia. This is where, I don't know where Knudsen stands on this, but it seemed that he was pretty hands-off with the rest of the canon that was created for Slender Man. I mean, basically everybody took their own version of the Slender Man legend and ran with it. And Knudsen actually hasn't been very involved when it comes to like any inspired art or the video game creations. I mean, technically he made this character. You would think he would be a little more involved, but he's not. And it seems the reason is he's just too busy with real life stuff. Now, he has been interviewed a lot since 2009, and he's talked about Slender Man a lot. And I also kind of wonder if the crimes that occurred because the perpetrators were inspired by Slender Man may have inspired Knudsen to be like, maybe I need to separate myself from it. However, then you lose out on all those royalties, you know, from the movie, the video game, so on and so forth. So you could say that Knudsen is the creator, but when it comes to like the ownership and what's canon of Slender Man kind of belongs to everybody in a way. But some people have even gone as far to say that Slender Man has no official creator. I kind of disagree with that a little bit. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, probably thousands now, of people who have written their own variations of Slender Man. You could even say that Slender Man's story is still being written as we speak. I've had many people ask me this. Is there any chance chance at all that Slender Man could be based on actual events? Is there a possibility that Slender Man could be real? Yeah. Technically, yes, but I also believe in the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts and intentions and manifestation. There is a theory out there that one can manifest their own entity or their own ghosts if enough brain power is engaged. I'm planning on covering this topic in more detail in the future. I'll keep it at high level for now. In the 1970s in Canada, there was an event known as the Philip experiment, and a group of people managed to create their own ghost. This ghost had a backstory, history, a family, everything. The creepiest part about this was Philip, the ghost, was able to think for himself, and Philip had his own free will. So these people got together, they thought about him, they created this story for Philip, and then they just manifested him out of their minds. Granted, this took over a year. This wasn't something that happened in like a week. They met weekly for over a year to basically create Philip. And I'm a geek. I actually saw one of the tables that they used for this experiment. And eventually Philip had power of his own. I mean, he was moving objects across the room. It was insane. And Philip outgrew his creators. He was able to act without the permission of his creators. And we tend to call this phenomenon tulpas, or thought forms. And there's a theory out there that a lot of the hauntings that we encounter today, especially in some of the more popular locations, aren't actually ghosts, but instead they're tulpas or thought forms. Now that I'm leaving you hanging on that groundbreaking thought, let's go back to Slender Man. Is there a possibility that Slender Man could ever be real? I honestly don't know. I mean, if enough people are thinking about him and there's a consistent origin story that's being passed around and people are thinking and manifesting him into existence, maybe one day. But you're probably thinking, there's no way somebody could take Slender Man that seriously. Well, remember in the beginning of this video, I said that there are people out there who think Slender Man is a god? Yeah, it's true. And people have even tried to make sacrifices in his honor. And more often than not, they have involved children. So even though Slender Man is fictional, he's inspired comics, arts, video games, movies, he has also inspired some real life horror stories. I mean, we really need to teach our children the difference between real and pretend. And mental illness probably played a big role in this too. On May 31st, 2014 in Wisconsin, two 12-year-old girls lured their best friend into the woods. And there, they stabbed their friend 19 times. Why did they do this? They wanted to prove that Slender Man was real. What? Now, these two girls, their names were Anissa Weir and Morgan Geyser. They were obsessed with Slender Man. Like, they wanted to be his followers, like he was some sort of deity. Like I said, these girls were just 12 years old at the time. They were young. And they believed that they had to become servants of Slender Man and they needed to appease him in order to protect their families. So it was one of those Valak situations where, you know, you summon the entity. If they don't like you, you're screwed. So they were like, well, we need to make Slender Man happy so that he will leave us and our families alone. But you wanted to be his followers. They decided to attack their best friend and they stabbed her 19 times. Now you may have thought, okay, well, this girl definitely didn't make it. Miraculously, and this girl survived. The girl's name is Peyton, and she was severely wounded. I mean, she basically came out of the woods to the road, waved a car down in full, like, bloodied fashion. I mean, this was probably looking like a scene from a horror movie. Police arrested Anissa and Morgan was sentenced to 40 years in a psychiatric facility, and Anissa was sentenced to only 25 years. And the reason being was apparently Morgan was the one who did most of the stabbing and the dirty work, and Anissa looked on. Kind of messed up, but I guess if Morgan was really the person doing the stuff, then yeah, she definitely needs longer in the psychiatric facility. The situation with Anissa and Morgan was not an isolated incident. In that same year, a 13-year-old girl from Ohio attacked her mother with a knife. And according to the mother, her daughter was waiting for her in the kitchen with a knife, and she was wearing a white mask. That's not creepy at all. And during the incident, the mother said that her daughter was acting like a completely different person. Thankfully, once again, mom survived with just minor injuries. The whole story behind that was this 13-year-old girl was obsessed with Slender Man, just like Anissa and Morgan, and she even created a whole world for him in the game Minecraft. Now, this girl was tried as a juvenile, and she also confessed that she attacked her mom in an attempt to please Slender Man. So now we have 2 stabbings in the same year that were done to appease Slender Man. And if you don't think that's not enough, in the same year, again, a 14-year-old girl was inspired by Slender Man to set her house on fire. Yep, Slender Man inspired her to burn her house down. Now, thankfully, her family survived as well. So we haven't seen any fatalities with Slender Man. Have there been any more Slender Man crimes? I'm not sure. I tried to look for some, but it seems like 2014 was the golden year for Slender Man to be inspiring crimes from teen girls. And if there are more, please feel free to share with me in the comments. I would love to read them. I just find it so fascinating that such a creepy character could inspire so many, and also inspire a bunch of teenage girls to almost kill people. I mean, their intention was to kill, and luckily those people survived. So where do we go from here? I mean, Slender Man is nothing more than a creative entity that was created by the human mind. And I have to wonder, had Eric Knudsen lived centuries ago and came up with the idea of Slender Man, would Slender Man be more of a mainstream legend today? Like, would we have like holidays or ghost stories or more movies about Slender Man? I mean, would Slender Man be among like werewolves and vampires and that sort of lore? And also, how many deaths back in the day, like we're talking, Middle Ages, if Slender Man was a thing, how many of those deaths would have been attributed to Slender Man? It's kind of terrifying to think about. Considering all of these heinous acts that Slender Man has inspired, it's probably better that we've only known about this legend until now. And really, the lesson here is all it takes is for a seed of inspiration to be planted, and the story will grow by itself. And once it grows by itself, you really can't control what happens to it. You can't control how people will interpret that character and what they will do in the name of that character. Whether you believe Slender Man is pure fiction, or if you believe in the possibility that he could manifest into reality one day, let's hope it all stays in a fictional place. Let me know in the comments what you think about Slender Man and the crimes that Slender Man inspired, and also let me know what other topics you'd like me to cover. I'd love to hear your feedback. This video was made from that feedback. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next round.